Prabhuji, what is the source of suffering in life?
From the beginning, it is very important to establish the difference between pain and suffering. Many are confused about them. Pain is physical, belongs to the dimension of the factual. Suffering is mental, emotional, belong to the world of the dreams, of the illusion. The suffering, the issue of the suffering was part of the first teachings of the Buddha. Just after leaving the Bodhi tree in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. And these teachings was what we know as the Four Noble Truths. These Four Noble Truths was first, dukkha, or suffering, the nature of the sufferer. What is the suffering? The second one, samudaya. Samudaya, the source, the origin of the suffering, the cause of the suffering. The third one, nirodha, or the cessation of the suffering. Yes, suffering has an end. Suffering has an end. And it is possible to stop it. And the last one, magga, or the path, the way that guides us to the end of suffering. Very beautiful text, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. I will not enter into the text, but the Bhagavad Gita too gives some explanations about the suffering with the happiness and the distress. Matras prashastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkha. Explain about the dukkha too in Sanskrit. And many other scriptures go deep into the subject. But I want to analyze it from a different point of view. Most of us think that the source of suffering are certain occurrences. In the reality, many of us think that we suffer because something happens or different activities or occurrences, happenings in any moment make us suffer. But the reality is that reality is not a source of suffering. The source of suffering is not the present, is not the reality. And one more time we have to put it clear. The reality is only the now, the present. Many of us think that we live in reality, but it is not like that, because most of us live in the nostalgies and in the hopes, means in the past, in the future, not in this moment. And what is real happens only now. And this present, this reality, the now, it is not the source of suffering. What is never a source of suffering. The source of suffering is what is not. What doesn't exist in this moment. When our attention is directed to any object, person, or activity in the present moment, there is no suffering. The suffering begins when our attention is directed, is focused in what is not, in asat, what doesn't exist. What exists never can bring you suffering. Suffering is connected to what doesn't exist. When you begin to think that the present moment could be different, that what happens could happen different, only then you pay your attention in something that never happens. Only then you connect to the illusion, to the fantasy, to the dream. And then you begin to suffer. The suffering ends at the moment that you bring back your attention to what's going on now and here. As long as you go far away from the present, you suffer more. In fact, your suffering will be big as the distance that you go from the present moment to your dreams. As far away is your illusion, more you will suffer. The suffering has no relation with what happens. The relation of the suffering is with the distance between the reality and what is not. The happening can be good or bad, but that doesn't matter. The important thing, what makes the suffering, is your attention going far away, leave and reject the now in order to go to some fantasy. For example, something bad happens. You divorce, you leave your girlfriend, your boyfriend that you was many years with. But if in that moment that's supposed to be negative, painful, you pay your attention in the suitcase and in the colors of the clothes you arrange. And you pay attention to your steps to the door and to the touch of the hand in the door and the sound when you close the door. And if you put your attention in the sounds of the steps in the street, in the car, and you leave, you will see that it is not such a suffering. After, when you begin to think about the days that you was together and how everything could be different and how you will feel alone without your couple, and to imagine how that person will be with somebody else and how things could be like that with you, etc., your suffering begin as a result of your connection, of the focus of your attention in what is not. On the other hand, something good happens. Everything is okay. You have a wife, husband, children's beautiful home. Everything going nicely. But you can have uncertainty and fear from the future. That fear arises when you begin to think that many bad things can happen. Maybe you can lose the job, can be disease, so many bad things can happen. And then that fear, you begin to create uncertainty. And even everything is okay, no problems, you suffer. You suffer. You begin to think about something can happen to your children, something happens to your husband or wife or to your family. You work. You are at work. And in a moment you see your boss enter with an angry face. In the reality, nothing bad happens. Maybe he fight with his wife or who knows. But you begin to think, he's not happy with me. Maybe he will kick me out. And then you begin to suffer. And nothing bad happens to you. Practically nothing bad happens. But you suffer. So the suffering is not related to what's really going on in the reality. Is more related to where you direct your attention. There is the factual reality and there is the theoretical reality. Most of human beings live more time in the theoretical reality, that is a reality of ideas, conclusions, concepts, ideals, assumptions, etc., etc. When our attention is in that theoretical world, we have all the possibility to suffer. Dreams, fantasies, and illusions. Because a thought, an idea, can have some reality, but not the content of that idea or thought. As long as you are in the present, attentive to the now, there is much less possibility to suffer. In fact, there is no suffering in the now. Our attention in what not happening is a source of suffering. But that suffering ends when we direct our attention to what is really happening. When Buddha talks about suffering and talk about the source of suffering, he refers to the desire. As we know, many religions, many spiritual paths talk against desire. It is not always easy to understand what is the reason. And people think that to desire is not so spiritual. But what is really the problem with the desire? The problem with the desire is that disconnects you from the reality. Because when you desire something, it is always something that it is not present in the now, obviously. Whenever you desire something and begin to fantasize about it and dream about it, it's because you don't have it. It's because it is absent in your present reality. So desire, the nature of the desire is a disconnection from the present. And these are the two tools that you go and disconnect from the present. The first is the rejection, and the second is the desire. The rejection works like what happens now is not good. This, the present experience, is not enough. The present experience don't give me satisfaction. And then the desire. My present husband is not enough. And then the desire, a new husband. My present car, house, the work I have is not enough. I don't enjoy enough. And then the desire, a new job, a new car. They work together. Hindus in Vedanta call it raga and dvesha. We escape from any reality that can be painful, uncomfortable, and running after our dreams. Go in life, all our life, pursue dreams, fantasies, and illusions. The perfect country, the perfect husband, the perfect wife, the perfect children, the perfect family, the perfect whatever, and to be perfect. And all this can be applied to our reality too, in the sense that as I am, I don't accept myself. It is not enough. I should behave as I should be, as I am expected to be, and in fact I live as I should be and not as I am. I live, and this is what is the ego? Is an illusory I, a fantasy me, something created by society, how you are expected to be. And that is a source of suffering. Meditation is to sit here and pay attention to the now, nothing else. So many people say to teach meditation mantra meditation, chakra meditation, many kinds of meditation, but real meditation is nothing else than to sit here to observe the now, the present, nothing else. All our life, we go only one direction, escaping from real situations that are not enough. We live all our life escaping from discomfort in the reality. We don't want to face any uncomfortable situation, people, places. And we run and pursue our dreams, our fantasies, our illusions. And we don't know how to go out from this slavery, to open ourselves to other directions. Meditation is the answer. Meditation is to stop and look, see, watch the reality of your running nowhere, and reconnect to the reality of the present moment. Without any story, because we create stories about others and about ourselves. We give interpretations. The reality is only awareness, but the illusion is awareness plus mind, and mind are interpretations. And we do history of our life, and stories about other people, interpretations, narrative, like a novel, like a film. But meditation is to watch, to be aware, without any film, without any story, without any interpretation. Is like to watch without knowing. But not in not knowing of ignorance. It's a not knowing of openness to the present. And that is the only way to go out from suffering. To be here, to be now. Totally, attentively present. Here